Global financial collapse, Egon von Greyerz says it will happen. Now, Egon specialises in wealth management and wealth preservation for high net worth individuals. He's the founder and managing director of Matterhorn Asset Management, a Swiss company that allows individuals to store their wealth in physical gold and silver. And Egon joins us today from Switzerland. Egon, welcome.
Pleasure to be with you, Lelde. A long time now since we last saw each other.
Absolutely.
And I was in live.
Our last interview, I think, was about 7 years ago at Sydney's Luna Park. And it's no secret that you're a fan of gold. You were then and you are now. And you've been predicting actually the collapse of the global financial system, hyperinflation, and the beginning of dark years for more than a decade now. Egon, how has the coronavirus pandemic and all that has occurred since shifted your perspective, if at all?
Well, it hasn't shifted. This crisis that started now didn't start with the coronavirus. It actually, it's been ongoing since the last crisis in 2006-9. But it restarted properly when the Fed and the ECB back in August, September started saying that they're going to print unlimited amounts of money. Both they had the repos, the Fed and the ECB had normal money printing. So it started then. There were problems in the banking system, problems in the financial system. We weren't told what they were, but they started with that. And then, of course, the coronavirus, as I look at it, is just a catalyst. This was coming anyway. It's just, when bad things come, unfortunately, the catalyst is always the worst possible, and the coronavirus was. And so that's made everything happen faster, but it would have happened anyway.
Okay, Egon, well, despite this catalyst, your predictions are certainly fairly gloomy. You've said recently that you think the world needs a forest fire and that there will be massive suffering to bring about a sound financial system. And you've even said this is the punishment that the world must go through, and that many will suffer, many will die prematurely as a result of poverty, famine, disease and wars. Now, the scale of this devastation would be multiples of the coronavirus. You've also said, what evidence do you have that the financial system is on the verge of collapse as you believe it is?
Well, we've been living, or the world has been living on borrowed time for quite a while. The financial system, I'm not going to go back until, the start of the Fed, but that's really when it started in 1913. But it's been a period of ongoing and increasing money printing and credit expansion. It's not reaching the people. The people are not better off. It's reaching asset markets. It's reaching stock markets, property markets, bond markets. And they're the ones, that's where the bubble is. But where it's all revealed is in the currency debasement. So since 71, all currencies are down 97 to 99% against gold. Gold is real money. Gold is the only money that has survived, and therefore gold is constant purchasing power. The financial system is already under pressure, and that pressure will now exacerbate in the incoming months. And at some point, stock markets will collapse, and then the whole thing will set off, and the financial system will have problems surviving in its present form, in my view.
So, Egon, you say that the financial system will collapse, but if we look at global stock markets now, they have remained fairly resilient. Can you explain why there is this conflict between what's going to happen and what's occurring now?
There is a total disconnect between reality and stock markets. Stock markets have been spoiled by central banks, and in the US case, of course, the Fed, but all central banks coming in, printing money as soon as there's a problem. And that money has primarily reached the people who already have money. As I said before, it hasn't reached the normal people who are the ones who are really suffering. It hasn't reached the normal economy. The normal economy is collapsing. GDP is collapsing around 20% in most countries and more currently. And so it is not, the money is not reaching normal people. Instead, it goes into the stock market, and the stock market now is more overvalued than it's ever been in stock market in relation to GDP or in relation to sales, in PEs, etc. It's massively overvalued, and as I said, markets go up until they collapse.
Okay, well, look, we know you're not a fan of the stock markets, yet you do like gold. What would you say for those considering purchasing gold stocks?
Well, I got nothing against the stock market at all. I just think that, you should not invest in something that is a bubble and that is extremely high risk. So therefore, I don't think that's the place you want to be now.
Does that also go for gold stocks as well?
No, it doesn't. Gold stocks are massively undervalued, and they haven't caught up at all with the rise in the gold and silver prices. So that is the only area of the stock market that I like and that I would invest in.
And are there any particular gold or silver companies globally that you think are particularly undervalued, or you like their operations or prospects?
Well, I avoid mentioning individual companies. So I think the whole sector is an excellent sector. The big companies will benefit because institutions can only invest in the big companies, and institutions will come in a big way in this market because they need to inflation hedge their portfolio. So I think the bigger companies are excellent. Then you should have, it's better to buy an index like the GDX or an index of junior companies. You have to have a spread. You have to have at least 10, 20 companies or more because the risk is high. But, so I think that area is very important. But as we look at it, the mining stocks are not proper wealth preservation. Proper wealth preservation is holding physical gold with direct ownership and that you actually can touch your own gold and storing it outside the banking system. That's real wealth preservation, because the mining stocks you hold within the financial system. So therefore you have a major counterparty risk. Therefore, to our investors, we recommend only to have a smaller investment in mining stocks and have the bigger investment in physical gold and a bit in silver also.
Egon, you've been very consistent with those messages over the years. And I suppose the final question, if we're at the beginning of a new decade now and looking forward, what do you think are the biggest changes that we may see to the gold and silver markets in the coming decade?
Well, sadly, this new decade, first of all, it will be an economic almost destruction of markets and of asset values. And a major wealth transfer, and people who are now holding stocks and property and bonds, they are going to lose a lot of money. People who are investing in commodities, and especially into the mining sector and physical gold and silver, that will continue to reflect that market will continue to reflect the increase or accelerated money printing that we're going to see. And I expect at some point we will have hyperinflation in many countries because of this money printing. And therefore, all gold does is really reflect constant purchasing power, as I said. And the mining stock is a leverage on physical gold and silver because so they will go up a lot more than physical gold, but it's not, as I said, the same level of wealth preservation as we see it.
Absolutely. Well, Egon, thank you so much for your legendary insights today from Switzerland.
Well, Lelde, it's a pleasure to speak to you. I think it was 2012 last time, so 8 years now. That is really nice to come back and see you again, although not in Australia this time, maybe next time.
Hopefully next time, either in Australia or Switzerland, and hopefully not as long to wait till the next interview. And thank you for watching. If you like what you see, like the video, subscribe to TCN TV, or drop us a comment. Tell us what you want to see next and what you want to ask them. Or if you're an investor, send us an email so we can keep you in the loop with the latest ideas to empower.